Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Dharam, your friend, your host. And I'm very excited today to have Erica Grong, and she is the Agile lady, or the Lady Agile, somebody who understands, knows Agile very, very well. How are you, Erica?
I'm doing just fine, Dharam. Thank you for having me.
Great, great. Good to have you here. And it's a pleasure. And I also want to welcome all of my friends here. Thank you for joining. And I know some of you maybe middle of night, early morning, day, night, whatever it is, it's all about your commitment. You're here to learn and learn something new and exciting. So I'm sure the time you're spending here is going to be very well utilized. So welcome all of you and welcome Erica. Thank you for accepting my invitation to come and talk about this exciting topic.
Yeah, I can talk hours for Agile, so I have a lot of experience, a lot of opinions. So yeah, it's one of my favorite topics. So
exactly, and that's where you called Lady Agile. And I'd like to introduce Erica. Erica is based out of US, based out of New Mexico, not a Mexico, but New Mexico is part of US. If you're not in US, this is southern part of United States. They're touching the border of Mexico, Texas, and I think California as well, Arizona, California. Anyway, so Erica is coming with lots of experience, especially in Agile. So she's accomplished principal award-winning information technology project program management experience with 25 years in experience in multiple technology areas, supporting enterprises, high-profile, mission-critical, complex integrated IT solutions. So she is doing really good in whatever she's doing. She has solid record accomplishing in agile delivery with 8+ years in gathering requirements and managing software engineering projects. More than 1,000 hours with multi-million dollars budget and team ranging from 3 to 50 members. How do you manage your 50-member team in Agile? I will ask the question.
So you don't make it one team. You split it into smaller teams of 3 to 4 each, either by feature or by the functional area. It depends on how the organization is organized, is structured. But yeah, you never want teams to be too large.
Exactly. So you're talking about Scrum, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's you're running a program. That's fantastic. All right, so you also possess expert knowledge in multiple project methodology such as waterfall, Scrum, Kanban, scaled Agile, discipline Agile, extreme programming, feature-driven development, test-driven development, acceptance test-driven development, behavior-driven development. Wow, so many driven development. FDD, DDD, ATDD, DDD.
And once you learn one of those, the differences between those are very small.
I know.
Like minor shifts between those, but yes, have worked with all of them, and my developers, my teams have mixed emotions about some. The one that stands out the most, I think, is test-driven development.
So, test-driven development. Yeah, I mean, when I was studying for ACP, I heard about all these names, but there may be very small changes, the same naming. I think some name change as well. I think that because they're coming from same group of thought process, somebody started some name, then you cannot use it because of copyrights. Somebody has to come up with different names. So that's why we have so many versions of Agile. But the concept and the theory is exactly the same, all based on an Agile manifesto.
Exactly.
Good. And the good thing is, Erica was my student for PgMP certification. Now she is a student of PfMP as well. And she completed her PgMP certification on 10th of April 2023.
Mhm.
There you go. So that's the most important.
Yay. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a long
so it's
journey.
hard work.
Worth it.
Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I just said it was a long journey, but well worth it.
Exactly. So look, it required focus, dedication, and keep putting your energy and looking over that. Yes, it's possible, and I know that you did it when you had a foot problem. Some accident happened, and you were struggling to walk. You're sitting in a home office, and traveling at Hawaii. So all these things, but you still did it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So congratulations for your PgMP. Very recent PgMP, just not even a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So tell me more about your experience of PgMP.
So for with the PgMP?
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Well,
a little bit about your journey.
I would say that it's obviously it's built based on the standard for program management, 4th edition, and had a lot of aha moments reading through that book. Realizing that a lot of the things I was doing day to day were really either programs or should be managed as programs or program activities and not necessarily projects. And then of course the difference between portfolio and program as well. And so that was the first thing. But yeah, it was an easy read. It's all about test strategy, usually with PMI exams. And scenario-based questions, which is a lot better than when they ask memorization questions, which aren't any. But yeah, just for me, what worked was the question after question, just getting into that mode of answering the questions and thinking about what they're asking, looking for what is the problem they're trying to address with this question. And yeah, I would have to plug your materials. I thought your study materials were top notch. And believe me, I've been out there looking for other materials, and actually took a whole class before I took your session. And it just really it made everything click and a lot easier to learn and absorb.
Yeah. Look, thank you for accepting me as a mentor. It's a big thing. And, and I was able to add value, and you got the certification. And not you only, but your the group of you happened to, you guys joined this another program, not satisfied for some reason. Then Tom and Randy and you, all three joined, and all of you are now PgMP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom had failed the exam 3 times.
Before coming to me.
So yeah, exactly. And he had almost given up. He was at his limit, obviously, within the year. So yeah, he was really
exactly. So like in his situation, he got 3 attempts and he missed out for some reason. Nothing short of knowledge. It's more about application of knowledge during the exam. That's what it is. Exam is all about. How can you apply the knowledge and within the shortest time get the results you're looking for? So even with Randy, she came to me after 1 attempt, and but the best thing about her is she completed the exam in 2 hours, 5 out of 5 above targets. So,
yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, but that's Randy.
yeah. So look,
got other credentials, and it really kind of hurt when she failed that one. So yeah, she was really discouraged, and then she saw that Tom passed after failing 3 times. So yeah, we kind of got on the drum bandwagon there, and then it just felt easy. And that was the best part I enjoyed about the exam is my PMP exam experience was really challenging and difficult, even though I had studied a really long time. But I went into that exam and I had confidence, but it felt easier. It actually felt like an easier exam than the PMP, even though, of course, it is actually more difficult of an exam. So that's how prepared I felt going into that exam. So yes.
So look, any exam, whatever a PMP, CAPM, PgMP, PF, whatever exam we talk about, the more you're ready, the exam becomes easy. So my strategy is I want to see my students are over prepared. So when you are sitting in the exam, you feel this is like walking the park. So that's
Yeah.
fair.
I recognized every type of question. Yes, it was great.
Yeah. So my job is to make your journey as smooth as possible and get the best results. And yes, you talked about Tom and Randy, but you passed the exam in your first attempt. That's your achievement.
Yes. Yay. With 2 above targets. Yeah.
And yeah, so about targets. So good. All of you, thank you for. And Randy is also my future, and I think Tom is also in future webinars. So they will talk about their journey. And but here today we are here with some questions, especially around agile mindset and project leadership. So we're going to talk about them. And Erica coming with lots of experience in agile, so I cannot find anybody else to talk about this topic than her. So that's why she's here. So I have a couple of things. One is I have shared 2 links on the chat. If you're not seeing, let me know. These links are if you're preparing for PgMP, PfMP, or you want to learn about the PgMP or PfMP, you can watch the videos. I have spent, I think, PgMP video I have around 1.5 hours trying to cover each and every aspect of the PgMP and what to do, what not to do, application, this and that. It's a free material. And the second one is PfMP. So please watch it and let me know if you have a question or clarification. I will be happy to clarify your questions and like to see the results as Randy and Erica and Tom and many other 451 PgMPs and 109 PfMPs. Yeah. Anyway, so I feel good about my little accomplishment I'm getting. So, but the important thing is your trust in me and you follow the guidance and you get the result. And I feel excited, my contribution.
Yeah.
All right.
PfMP next for me.
Exactly. Next 3 months, 2 months, we will be done.
That's right.
All right. So other thing is I have approval for the PDU code. So that means by the time we finish, you have a PDU code. We can use it for claiming 1 PDU. I will share it during the, around, almost finishing. And people watching this video as a recording. So once you watch, you let me know that I watched the video and, and you have to tell that Erica was great and she did really good and give me 1 point and I will share the PDU code. All right, so good stuff. My first question, Erica, for you is how to cultivate a fail fast mindset, whether it is difficult, whether it's different from agile mindset or the same. Please share your experience.
So I think it's very similar. So agile, starts, we have to kind of be agile before you can do agile, right? Agile and almost all the agile methodologies are based upon values, principles, behaviors of the team. And what I've seen work is if you can develop a high performing team, then everything else kind of falls into place. And by high performing team, I mean a team that's not afraid to experiment. So when they do fail, they look at it as an opportunity and not as a negative thing. And that behavior needs to be encouraged and coached in your team. And then some of the other things are, I've found it very, very, very useful to be as a coach, as a Scrum Master, because most of my role has been as Scrum Master, not necessarily product owner, but Scrum Master role is to make sure I understand the different methodologies and that and to not be prescriptive with the team. My job as coach is to train the team. Like, here is this option, here's this option, but let them kind of formulate what's going to work for them. And most of the time, it's going to be some kind of hybrid. It's going to be some kind of very unique custom agile methodology for them that works for them. And and your job as coach also is to socialize those principles. So the Agile manifesto. Discipline Agile comes with principles, guidelines, and promises. Scaled Agile comes with core values. Scrum has core values and pillars, right? So be aware of those, be knowledgeable about those, and then consistently socialize those with your team. just
Mhm.
and management. So not just the team level, but management as well. You know, the best agile transformations, they say, come from the bottom up, but they also have to come from the top down as well. So they have to make it from the bottom up all the way to the top. So yeah, it's hard. It's you have to really know team dynamics. You have to know coaching skills, facilitation skills. You know how to be a servant leader. So as a traditional project manager, that was the hardest part for me, was to come in and not direct people or assign tasks, but kind of coach that team to be self-managing.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So I know fail fast, you know, even in real life, if you want to reach out to some of the bigger goals, you know, don't get afraid. Okay, just take a step. If you fail, you take, you know, recover and try again. Lesson learned is important. If you fail, why I failed? Why, what else can I do to be more productive or more accurate? So, and I heard about the, you know, as what's the name of the guy which invented the bulb, Thomas Alva Edison. He
Mm-hmm.
tried 9,000 times before he realized, you know, before he got the final bulb, working bulb.
Mm-hmm.
So try it out, fail fast.
And it's easier to fail fast when you have shorter cycle times. So if you have small batch sizes and you're developing kind of iteratively to get that feedback, then it's easier and better. That's kind of where that comes from, is fail fast. You know, just build something and then get feedback from the customer, and then you may completely incorporate all the changes they've made and build something different the next time. So it's just, and it really takes a mindset to be able to do that comfortably.
Exactly. All right. And by the way, I've shared two more links. One is for some special offers and discount. You can have a look to the site and some of the chapters which are part of you know, relationship we have. If you're part of those chapters, PMI chapters, you will get some discount on the existing price. The second one is this is for registering to the next program with Ali from Canada, and he's very smart guy coming from you know, Nova Chemical. He has a lot to share. So if you want to part of that, so use that link to register as soon as possible. So limited registration, so use it as soon as you can. Anyway, so now coming back to my next question, Erica, why does Agile fail? What challenges an issue must be laser focused by today's business leaders? And are they ready to accept the challenges?
So the first thing I'd like to recommend for everyone is, if you have not seen or read it already, always go out and get the 16th State of Agile report. They put out one every year. You can just Google 16th State of Agile report. But basically, it's a huge survey that they give to multiple industries. And the number one reason that keeps coming back why Agile failed, company culture is the number one reason. Number two, lack of management support. Number three, inconsistent Agile practices or processes. And number four, inefficient management collaboration. So you kind of see right there that an Agile transformation can fail if it doesn't have that top-down support, or the teams don't know, you know, how to commit to a particular process versus consistently changing it. You know, understand why you're changing it. Understand that, you know, when you're inspecting your process and you need to make some changes, that you're consistent. And that is one thing I've seen is teams. Let's say I have a team of teams. So I have one big team of 50 people, and I have multiple teams under there. It's not great if all those teams are working on the same product for them to use different Agile processes. For example, you should consistently, for example, have the same sprint end and start. You know, little subtlety things like that will make a huge difference. So again, that's, as your role as coach, you need to be making sure that the team, whatever they decide is going to work for them, they stick to it. And if they need to course correct, they need to consider what the other teams have learned as well.
I remember my discussion with this lady from the bank in Australia. They
Mhm,
call CBA, Commonwealth Bank of Australia.
mhm.
And I knew that the CBA is going through huge agile transformation. And even my wife was working in that environment. So I used to know about it. And this lady called me, Dharam, there's a huge problem. The team is great. Everybody is agile, transformed. They are using and they're talking the same language, but the executives are not aligned. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Executives are not aligned. So they still expect as a normal project, normal reports. Why I'm not getting the feedback? I'm not getting this.
Mhm.
So that can be one of the things you talked about, executive support or the mindset of the executive has not changed. While everybody has changed, they have not changed. So that's the one, that can be one reason. And then I think there's but I'm talking from my experience, this telecom company in Telstra where I was working at the time, they
Mhm.
started with a lot of excitement. Everybody's talking agile, but sooner they realize that they're not, there's some problem in that agile, some projects. One was their mention of no documentation. Right? So not saying one of the manifesto saying I think the document this and this comparison. So people have assumed that, hey, we don't need to do documentation. And if you don't do the documentation, any document, some document is required. Like say, team will, once the work is done, team will be gone. All the knowledge gained through the whole process is all gone wasted. So I think that's something I think from my point of view, where the agile is failing because people are misinterpreting these manifestos differently in their own way. They want to interpret based on their own thinking.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a myth that agile means you don't have to document. You're still documenting, you're just documenting a little differently. So you're documenting as you go, so that program management plan or that project management plan is being updated as you go. It's not
Yeah.
something we construct in its entirety in the beginning. And there's also some documentation that can wait till after other things are done, for example. So yeah, that's myth number one. And then I've noticed that a lot of organizations are mostly organized by function, right? So you've
Yes.
got siloed, I hate to say it, but siloed departments. If they're separated by function, it's going to be a challenge for those managers, those functional managers and the executives to understand how agile is going to work, because those projects have they have people from all different departments, and that all those people from all those different departments are working together on this project. And so you have your classic matrix organization, which yes, is always any kind of methodology is probably challenging in that kind of environment. And so that's why it definitely succeeds kind of at the team level, because the team's working together, they understand what's going on. But yeah, there's going to be those conflicts at the manager and the executive level in those kind of organization structures.
Yeah. So look, agile is great if it's utilized effectively. It's like any tool. If you have some knife, you can cut veggies, you can do a lot of things with that, and you can also cut your hand as well if you don't use it properly. So you need to know how can I use this tool, and agile in this case, and that will help me and my organization to achieve the objectives more effectively, more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the difference is. And by the way, Erica, you coming as a Lady Agile, I have done a number of Agile projects and setting up the Agile teams, Scrum teams. So I can also talk from that language. While I love talking about PgMP PfMP, which is my favorite, but I can still talk Agile.
Mm-hmm.
Not
And
to
also,
take away your hat as a Miss Agile.
and agile and agile methodologies are centered around the customer, right? Customer value.
Mm.
And that's another kind of challenge at that manager executive level. Are these product lines really directly related to the customer, what the customer values? Because all things kind of stem from that. And is this process or is this methodology a value add, or a non-value add, process. So yeah, it's it's hard to get your head around, customer value. What does that mean? Well, it basically means that you're directly communicating with your customer on a constant basis. And the team may do that, but some of the managers, functional managers and directors may not be doing that. They may not be actually, so they have a whole other set of priorities that they're working on. So yeah, it's a challenge, and that's the biggest challenge that I think I've encountered.
Yeah. So on the other side, if you can and manage all these challenges effectively, then you have very good result. You can be releasing the product in the market for, and better product, reviews, you can fast fail or try it better, try again. So as I said, any tool is tool. If you use it effectively, it can give you great result. If you don't use it effectively, then it can be a big disaster as well. So
I've seen a lot of agile transformations fail because maybe it didn't go right the first time, so they abandon it.
Yes.
Well, expect problems at first. Again, about that fail fast. And it's okay if we mess up the first time. We're going to learn from that. We're going to try again. And the other issue is that don't. I think this is one of the other questions, but don't try everything at once. Pick a low risk project with a small team to get those folks used to it. Those folks are then going to say, okay, now I understand, because you really don't understand fully how to do agile unless you're actually doing it, right? So, and you have those team members train the other team members. But yeah, I mean, I worked with an organization that they knew they just wanted to do it. They wanted to use agile. This is coming from the top down. And I said, well, hold up. I understand you've got two different major projects, product lines here, but let's start with something small. What is something small? Because they had the other challenge they had was their software. They're using a very waterfall based type project software that had Gantt charts and tasks and dependencies and that and the other. Like, well, how are we going to do agile with this software? I'm like, you don't need that software. You can still use that software to do agile. All you need to do agile is a whiteboard and post-its. I guarantee you.
Exactly.
Don't need a tool. And I introduced them to Mural, I think, or Miro. And they took to that, but they were tracking all their work and their sprints using that, but they still were updating their traditional software at the times they needed to, to show customer about the milestone progression and this, that, and the other. So yeah, start small. I mean, a pilot project that's a month or two long, get through the kinks of that. Do some retrospectives, get the team feedback. How did this feel? How did this feel? And yeah, don't be afraid to fail that first time. They were very frustrated, this organization. I said, this is to be expected. The chaos, it's gonna feel chaotic at first. Because it's a very big change. But once you get used to it and kind of get in the rhythm of it, then it goes a lot smoother.
Yeah. And I think there's other problem can be because the way it is marketed. Some people say, hey, my project will be all successful and will be fast in the market and from the day one. But it's a process. You have to go through the agile mindset change, and you need to recognize the problems. You need to have right agile coach who can guide the director and all these people. And people have to be actively thinking what else they can do to improve. So a lot of things has to happen. You can't just click switch a button up and down. It's agile, no agile. And the problem with that, when the organization fail, they don't even talk. They don't want to talk about agile at all because of the burn they get because of the agile failure. They say no, it's all rubbish. It's all, but they don't know how to use it properly. That's why my analogy around having a tool as a knife can be a great asset, but it can be a big disaster if you don't use it properly.
And the other thing I've noticed is roles, right? So in Agile, there's 3 basic roles that have stood out that are used consistently, I think. The product owner, the scrum master or team coach, or however you want to call that, project manager, they're known as that, and the team, so everyone else, the development team. These 3 roles are still one team, but people have a lot of trouble identifying product owners. They think that there's a lot of myths, right, about a product owner. Product owner does not have to be technical. Scrum Master does not have to be technical. The product owner just needs to know what the customer wants.
Exactly.
And there can't be a committee of product owners. There really ideally should be one product owner, and that product owner should be empowered with decision-making authority. You know, obviously they work with their stakeholders regularly. But yeah, this organization that I helped was, they had 6, I kid you not, 6 product owners. I said, okay, well, then we need them all in the room. They need to be on the team. You know, even if it's a pilot, they need to be on the team. And so they started to think about that, and then they started to realize, yeah, I mean, if we're designing in a committee, then nothing will happen. So we really do need to kind of trim this down. And that helped them figure out, okay, we need to just split the teams so that team 1 has this product owner, team 2 has that product owner, and if there's dependencies between those 2 teams, then they share a team member. So I mean, and they came to that conclusion on their own, but it was kind of tricky because no one really has the title product owner. You've seen product manager as a job title out there, but you rarely see product owner, you know, or even service owner for that matter. So yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, all the lesson learns what you got and I got can be useful to people. You know, companies they're about to start the journey of Agile, or they are struggling. They're probably thinking, "Hey, this is not the best thing we have done." But yeah, don't give up and find out why. What else can you do to improve your Agile projects? Maybe some little tweak required. All right. My next question is, what are the critical components in becoming a project leader with Agile mindset?
I would say knowledge is power. So learn everything you can about Agile, different methodologies. That has been the one thing that has helped me succeed. I think where others have failed is that I really took the time to learn like everything out there. Scrum, scaled Agile, discipline Agile, which is fantastic. And a lot of people are adopting that and getting really excited about that. And you know, Scrum at scale. Next, there's a large scale Scrum. There's all kinds of different things. And if you just read a couple articles about them, say, okay, I think I understand what the differences are there, then you can help your team. You know, you can train your team like, well, you know, in scaled Agile, we do this, and knowing when to apply, when to modify, when to tweak, right? So Agile is not appropriate for every single project. That was the other thing I encountered out in the world. We have to be Agile. We have to do Agile. We have to make this Agile, make that Agile. Not necessarily. You know, if you don't know what it is you're going to build, you don't know what it's going to look like at the end, then that's good for Agile. If you know exactly what you're going to build, exactly what's going to happen, then no, you don't really need to use Agile. Predictive will be just fine for that kind of project. If you have a lot of compliance needs or regulatory, like phase gates, what I call phase gates, you know, maybe hybrid, maybe a hybrid approach, right? So, and just decide where Agile fits best, you know, and then you have, and hopefully have the team kind of tell you, you know, what they think's going to work. So yeah, and I would say just practice. Certifications most definitely have helped me a lot. You know, in our role as project manager, you know, we're also all of a sudden we're the Agile transformation leader, right? So that's a whole different kind of leadership role, whole different kind of skill set, whole different kind of hat, where I'm basically saying, you know, here's how we're going to do it, or here's why we need to do it. You know, that's a little different. That's kind of, you know, managing up as opposed to, we could say, managing down. And so another thing I would say is probably understand the roles. Okay, so understand the differences between product owner, Scrum Master, and the rest of the team. You know, don't be afraid to make a big team, you know, and just, even if they just meet once a week and talk through things, that, you know, just get them kind of used to what those, what the responsibilities of those roles are. And the most challenging thing I've encountered is, again, the product owner. The product owner, it's not a job title, right? And it's a very different hat that people are not used to wearing. So it takes a little bit more time. And of course, Scrum Master is basically a coach, servant leader. So they need to not think so much about being a traditional project manager, because if you have a team and it's cross-functional and you want them to be self-managing, they can't come to you and report to you. They need to report to one another, right? So that's kind of another thing. And knowing if a behavior starts to change or behavior starts to be non-agile, being able to identify that and pinpoint it is also very useful.
Yeah. So no, thank you for highlighting those things, especially who want to, like, people want to become project leader. Yes, one thing, from my own experience, and I was working with the bank back in Australia, and they decided to, as it happened, everybody going to Agile. So I was responsible to establish the Agile team, its Agile Kanban board, and this and that. Initially, I was a project manager earlier. Now I'm setting up the team, and I'm running as a Scrum Master. And so while that's going on, but I was thinking like a project manager.
Exactly. And you can't help it, especially if you're in a hybrid. Because let's face it, most implementations are hybrid. I think the 16th State of Agile report said that, I think it's over 50% are not implementing one single methodology, but some kind of hybrid. And then back to like the Agile transformation, it's not, don't be afraid to assess the readiness of the organization. There are tools that you can do that with. Scaled Agile has a tool. You can also kind of Google different tools. Like there's a DevOps readiness model you can use. That, hey, is the organization ready? They score a 2 on the maturity level. Here's where we need to address skill gaps, for example, or culture gaps, that kind of thing, and know how to address those gaps, right? And then the other probably big thing I've noticed is people think they can do Agile and all we need to do is buy a tool to do Agile. Agile is what we call high touch, low tech. You don't need a tool to do Agile or be Agile. You just need a whiteboard, Post-its, a marker, and index cards.
And Agile mindset.
Yes. And sometimes I notice teams, they get so hung up on like the tool or selecting a tool or trying to combine the tool. Like I said earlier with the client that was, what do we do with the software we have now? Nothing. It's just, you can still use it. Yeah, so and it's easy to kind of fall into one of those crannies and kind of get distracted. But yeah, so those are some things I think are good as well.
That's good. Look, Erica, this is not a question asked by anybody. I'm just thinking because it's frequently asked question to me, especially when people coming to me, hey, Dharam, I want to do PgMP or PfMP, but I'm working in Agile. How PgMP PfMP can help me running my Scrum or my Agile work more effectively? Now, you are PgMP, you're coming from Agile background. What are your thoughts on that?
It's funny because I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
First, I can tell you industry-wide, the PMP is a global standard. You see it on job descriptions. You see it on job requirements. They do have a very strong Agile component now to that exam and that material. And so employers notice, and your salary will go up. So PMI, Project Management Institute's been around a long time, and they have basically established these standards, and it's not like there's no Agile in that material, so it's basically fit to purpose, right? So they are very vocal about saying, that they are not being prescriptive, and neither are all these other kind of credential agencies, right? They're not trying to be prescriptive. They're saying, here's the things to consider, here's the information you should know, and decide what's going to work best for your particular situation. So yeah, definitely it definitely changed my life. PMP was the first certification I got, and my very first project was an Agile project, and it definitely helped. I mean, understanding what process comes before this, what kind of challenges are with that process, what happens if you start this process and you haven't done this other process? Which processes can you do at the same time? I mean, all of that is very useful to doing Agile as well.
Exactly. And for my response to those people is, look, especially when you're running a larger Scrum, like the Scrum of Scrum, we talk to 50 people, and we're not talking 50 people as one team. There are maybe 6 or 7 teams, and they are doing their work. And as a program manager, as a Scrum of Scrum, you have to work with all various Scrum teams, with the Scrum Master. So the main thing is we're talking coordination among these 6, 7 teams in the most effective way to deliver the benefit expected, which are not available when you're doing them individually.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole basis for program management. That's right.
Exactly. So program management, PgMP does not care whether you're running hybrid or waterfall or agile. You can have mix of all them, but what we are talking about, coordination among these various projects, whether agile, non-agile, doesn't matter. So knowing the concept from PgMP and ultimately and then PfMP will actually help you to deliver even your agile projects, programs, and portfolio more effectively.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
All right. My next question: whether the Agile manifesto prescribes any specific methodology that best fit for the organizations and the project situation?
So no, I mean I think kind of the whole purpose behind the manifesto was to kind of back away from being prescriptive. Some people argue they were rebelling against waterfall, but really they just were changing their focus. They're like, look, what are we trying to get achieved here? It's about the customer. So if you center things around the customer, everything else should kind of fall into place. And so no, the Agile Manifesto was not being prescriptive on a certain methodology at all. And you'll notice that Agile Manifesto, it all starts with that. Scrum, I think I said the 3 pillars of Scrum: transparency, inspection, adaptation. Obviously that kind of stems from the Agile Manifesto. Scaled Agile has core values, core principles. They have something now called flow accelerators. So your flow accelerators are what you can teach your team to do to implement lean type practices. They're all kind of interweaved and related, but still not really being prescriptive. It's just all based around like value and customer value.
Right. So they are not specifically saying this is methodology you should follow or this particular framework. They just, they're given a manifesto. Based on that, it's up to you which framework, which methodology you want to pick, whether scaled agile, whether something else. That's up to you, totally up to you.
And what has kind of, I guess I'm going to call it best practice. So what I've seen, best practices tend to emerge, right? And one of those things is those roles, right? So more and more we're seeing a product owner role, we're seeing a scrum master, coach, kind of a team, team sync, team lead, whatever you want to call them, project manager role, and a cross-functional team. So those, I think, were originally defined in Scrum, and they've kind of migrated. So they've kind of become a best practice. Some of the Scrum ceremonies, for example, are becoming best practice. So the daily stand-up, also called a team sync. Just regular meetings you have day to day with the team to someone call them progress meetings. I mean, that kind of thing. Retrospective was the Scrum ceremony that's become kind of a best practice in Agile. So the sprint review, time boxes, developing in time boxes. So all these kind of things have kind of emerged as generally accepted best practices. For example, user stories instead of standard requirements. That's something that has definitely revolutionized the software industry, which is where I come from. And thankfully, because I don't know if I want to see another 20-page requirements document that's going to change every 10 minutes. So Yeah, so things emerge and you kind of start to see that. And the more that you're familiar with that and work with those things and know to be a little flexible with how those things are defined, then the easier it's going to be.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Guys, I just shared a PDU code on the chat. So please pay attention to that. Maybe copy paste this PDU code. This will give you 1 PDU. And if you have any problem, let me know, but it should work. Yeah, the people watching the webinar, the recording, message me that yes, you have watched this video and you like to have this PDU code. Happy to share with you. All right. Okay, moving on to the next question. Is Agile always better? What will happen if we combine waterfall and Agile?
Well, we don't know, right? It's probably gonna be different each time. Well, first of all, no, Agile is not always better.
Yep.
You know, you really have to kind of consider what you're trying to achieve. You know, if you don't know what you're going to build at the end, and you need that daily customer feedback, and this is, you know, obviously the most common in the software industry. We're not quite sure, not even sure the customer knows what they want at the end. Then that's a really good fit for Agile. But something like construction, or let's say pharmaceutical industry, I'm not quite sure where Agile is going to fit in there. Maybe it'll fit somewhere, but chances are it'll be, you know, some kind of hybrid. And so, and there's nothing wrong. You don't have to follow every single rule of Scrum. Let's say I had a client that said, "Well, we're doing everything that the Scrum guide says except for this one thing. So what do we do?" I'm like, "Well, that's okay. They said their daily stand-up was half an hour." I'm like, "Well, that's not ideal, but I mean, you're not going to break anything if you do that. You're getting value out of that half hour that you wouldn't get if it was just 15 minutes, then that's okay." You know, my team adopted something called the parking lot. So they stayed with the 15-minute daily stand-up, but then they called the other 15-minute the parking lot. So they knew, and that was their way to say, okay, we know we're not supposed to talk about technical things in that first 15 minutes, but we have a parking lot to do that. So just this, you know, and again, that comes back to fail fast. You know, people are afraid. Sometimes they're very afraid. People are afraid of change, right? And that's the other thing about program management. It's all about change management, right? And so knowing how to manage that in an organization is very useful and helpful. So because people are afraid, and it's just, you experiment, see what works. Hey, maybe Agile failed on a pilot, and we'll try again maybe next year. So yeah, and it's so every client I've had has had a very rough time the first time, but then the next time was a little better, and the third time was even better than that, and then like the whole team is super excited about it every single time, and yeah, it just kind of, it definitely is a grassroots movement, but yeah, just once you have a high performing team, you just kind of let them go, you know, and coach them. But yeah, it's not always better, but I have noticed definitely it's increased time to market, made customers happier. Daily interaction with a customer is unheard of in those right, those hierarchical organizations, but yeah, invaluable.
Exactly. Yes, you did mention something and it's gone. I was about to ask put my comment on that. But yeah, so combining the waterfall and Agile, yes, that's why we have the hybrid. Yes, I've actually talked to many people coming from construction or from mining or different areas. That everybody talking Agile, but it's, you know, are we trying to apply? Look, as you mentioned, it's applicable to something, it's not applicable to everything. And yes, you may be able to apply some of the component of those Agile, like you have daily Scrum, stand up or something, which can work for you. So you need to see what can work, what cannot work for you in that situation.
And definitely take into account team size. So if you're in an organization, or you're in a situation where your team is really large, maybe you need to think about some kind of scaling, Agile at scale, scaled Agile, you know, scaled Agile recommends a minimum of a team of 50. So they don't really recommend it for teams smaller than that, right? And there's different flavors of scaled agile based on what you're trying to achieve. And so and yeah, just I was looking here in the 16th, again, the 16th State of Agile report, over half of those surveyed are using some kind of hybrid. So, and it's but they still are very, very satisfied with it. So, 48% says this combination of frameworks works well for them.
Exactly. So, and depends on time. Organization, type of work they're working on, some complexity in that. How much do we really know about what the customer is expecting? Sometimes Agile can work. That's fair. Is it Agile? Is it waterfall, hybrid? What will work in this situation?
And why put a label on it? I mean,
just do your work, and whatever work for you, just use it.
Exactly. And that's where having the PMP and the other certifications help, is because we understand life cycles, right? So we understand where we are in a life cycle. Similarly, we'll understand where a team is in their phase of development, right? So, and that's very helpful. If you're in planning, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be, we have to have, before we can move to execution, we need this, this, and this. I mean, those are things you can only learn from the PMP and the other PMI certifications. So yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. I mean, other thing, Erica, I just want to mention that tomorrow I'm flying to Frankfurt, Germany, and this is my first European PgMP and PfMP programs. I'm very excited about it. Yes, I know Europe is not does not have so much appetite for PgMP PfMP, but it's actually growing. And I'm going to run the first ever PgMP and PfMP program from my side, at least.
Oh, excellent.
I'm looking forward to that.
That's great. Yeah, you have to tell me how that comes out.
I know. Yeah, if anybody is interested, if you're living in that area, you are in Europe, or you want to fly, please let me know as soon as possible. I do have some seats available in these programs, and PfMP on 5th, 6th, 7th, and PgMP on 8th, 9th, 10th in Frankfurt, in Germany. All right. If you take your name of Erica, I may give you some discount. All right. Okay. My next question is, what is working well across Agile practices? Practices, people, or technology? What is working well?
And again, I'll come back to the State of Agile report, but basically it comes down to customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
Time to market, customer satisfaction. Those are the things in all of these surveys that are consistently the top two things. And then, of course, others are collaboration. So now they understand the business needs more that they didn't before. Less siloing of departments, less defects. Okay, so if you're using say a really test-driven type approach, or even with user stories, I've noticed also that it's overall generally less defects, in what you're developing, because you're building quality in. So yeah, and morale, and that's one thing that I keep bringing up that people seem to forget. Team morale. People love Agile. Agile can be fun. Agile is it connects people. It is gets again that high performing team. Once you have that, it's like you can do no wrong. I mean, basically.
I have seen this actually when I started this Agile group, Agile work in this bank. I mean, the team, the business analysts or coding team and the testers, they're working so together. It was so much energy there. They were getting the things done much faster than what was happening previously. The BA going to do something, then developer going to do, and then tester. It was waterfall. Now, even I've seen the tester is now doing some coding. So what are you doing? So I learned some coding practice from Mr. So-and-so.
Well, and that's
So that cross-skilling is also happening. That's where it is.
And there's a, we talked earlier about acceptance test driven development. That's basically the, let's say the business analyst and the developer writing those together.
Yeah.
Writing that acceptance test together. So it's not just like the customer, not just a business analyst, not just the developer writing tests. They're literally writing them together using a common language. So there can be misinterpretation, and that works really well in very complex environments that have, like, say, a lot of rules, a lot of business rules, a lot of computational type rules. So yeah.
Great. I do have a few questions, Erica, from the registration. Let me read it out. How can project leader balance the need for predictability and control the need for flexibility and adaptability in the agile project environment?
I would say that first, look at the organizational readiness. What does the organization value? Do they value predictability, or do they value other things? How high up is the customer on that list? How is the organization structured? Focusing on customer value isn't always predictable, because the customer may change their mind, actually. And so how flexible generally are you to change, generally speaking, in the organization? And skills. So does everyone have kind of the right skills to work in a projectized environment, let's say, or knows a little bit enough about what every other department does to function well in a team, in a project team? I've had some clients that have never done a project. They built this thing and now they're supporting it, but they've really never worked in a project. So you have to kind of be ready for those kind of scenarios. And I would say, again, the certifications, going to conferences, that has been immensely valued to me. There's a global Scrum conference. And it's not just about Scrum. These are it's global, and it's agile practitioners, it's agilists, and there's Agile Alliance has a conference every year. PMI has restarted their training, so they're in-person conferences and their training. Those have been invaluable. And of course, talking to other practitioners, it made me feel so happy when I realized at the Global Scrum Gathering that people have all the same challenges.
Oh, yes.
Like, I'm a product owner, but I'm not really a product owner. I mean, things like that, they just, and you really build camaraderie and networks really well that way. And see what your industry is doing. Software adopted Agile many, many years ago. Scaled Agile, not so much. But scaled Agile is very popular in finance, industries with high transactions. And those, you can imagine, those are also very heavily regulated industries. So they are definitely kind of adopting that as a way to handle and be a little more flexible with all those kind of waterfall predictive kind of things that they have to do with regulations and whatnot. So yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you. My next question is, how can an agile mindset help project leaders to navigate uncertainty and manage risk effectively?
Well, Agile is all about adapting to change, right? And because that you're constantly should be expected to inspect, stop, look, how is our process? How are we doing towards goals? Are we meeting goals? And then based on that, what are some things we can do to improve? So really kind of focusing on process improvement. And again, that mindset, socializing the mindset, that it's okay that didn't work. We don't have to do it again if it didn't work. And just knowing how teams work. So know the different team models, Tuckman model, forming, storming, norming, etc. There's several different models. There's the Google model. Definitely, go out and research these. Lencioni model. It's a way to analyze, like, where is our team? Are they forming? Are they adjourning? Where do they think they are, and where are they? And how do you get and how do we get them to where they're supposed to be? Because again, I'll say that once you have a high-performing team, you don't really have to do anything else but watch the magic happen. So yeah, and Agile does handle risk. There's another myth out there that, well, we're Agile, so we're not looking at risks. Well, yes, you're supposed to be building your risks into that backlog, into that user story backlog. So you are supposed to be addressing risks. You may not have them all identified at the front part, and you may not have response strategies yet, but yes, you're still supposed to be managing risk and looking at risk. But Agile does reduce risk, especially when it comes to risk of not building the right thing, which is in the software industry one of the worst things that we can build is not the right thing, not what the customer wants. So yeah.
Can you capture the risk on your Kanban board?
Yeah. You can have a whole sprint. They call them spikes. I have a team that had called them spikes, but it's a spike where it's nothing customer facing. It's just we got to do cleanup, we got to do documentation, we have this problem that came up, we got to do this, and you negotiate, with the product owner about priority and things like that. But yeah, absolutely. And I insist actually that each result of the retrospective should make it into the next sprint. So, okay, we decided this thing isn't working. Here's our action item. Okay, we're adding that to the next sprint. Don't let technical debt accumulate. Technical or cultural debt, like I like to call it, because I had a team that they had a retro and they loved retros and they have all these action items, but they never wanted to put them in the backlog. I'm like, well, then we have to do them sometime, so we can't let. That's what I call cultural debt.
Oh yeah, cultural debt.
Yeah. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay. My last question, hopefully last. What is the difference between agile, safe agile, I think somebody said scaled agile, and the lean? What is the process to achieve lean agile?
So agile, well, let's start with scaled agile. So safe, also called safe. Scaled agile is basically agile at scale. So it is intended to be used in a large organization with many teams, many interdependencies, many product lines, multiple product lines. So it's basically a scaled version of doing agile type things. Now, lean, if you recall, is actually born from the Toyota production process, so lean manufacturing. Agile is actually considered under the umbrella of lean. So agile was kind of birthed, lean came first, and lean basically addresses the 7 wastes, so some of which are handoff, too many delay, time, defects, processing time, too many things like that. I think there's 7 of them. Go look that up. But they you'll notice that all these ways, like work in process, that's what I'm trying to think. Limit work in process, right? These are all things that we learned, that Toyota learned from looking at their own manufacturing process. All of those things have filtered down into just about every flavor of Agile. So you can see it in the Agile manifesto, right? You can see it in Scrum values. You can see it in XP values, extreme programming values. You can see it in scaled Agile, disciplined Agile. Like I was saying earlier, in scaled Agile has those things called flow accelerators. Literally, those are the 7. Those are the 7 ways you're supposed to better flow. They're all lean practices. So and that's the other thing. I wish I had learned lean first and then done everything else in my life. I got my green belt 2 years ago. I'm like, wow, I wish I had done this first, because it really does flow into just about everything else.
So you're suggesting if anybody is planning to get into the agile, do their lean first and then do the agile.
Yeah, lean. People kind of stray away from lean because it's focused primarily on manufacturing, right? But there's still some valuable tools in lean. That's kind of where value stream mapping came from. That's a lean tool. So if you just kind of remove manufacturing from the equation, you can still definitely learn. These these are all the challenges that every company has. You know, do we have too much work in process? You know, do we have too much delay between handoffs? I mean, those happen in every industry, not just manufacturing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Lean, some kind of Lean training, a yellow belt, any kind of Lean class, you know, a boot camp, anything like that would be incredibly valuable. And then in terms of like implementing Lean, again, I would say start small.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I know we need to do 20 things to improve flow, but what do we start with? You know, what's the priority here? Maybe we need to limit work in process. That's the one thing I've noticed my development teams. They love seeing 20 items in progress. They like to see that, but they don't get anywhere. They have all that work. I'm like, it's okay to be in the new column. You know, I'd rather see more things in done faster than 40 things in progress.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting small and kind of picking one kind of Lean practice at a time.
Yeah, perfect. Well, okay, good. So much information and a lot of things. You know, I thought I know Agile and I have done so much work in Agile, but more I'm talking to you, I'm realizing that I know nothing about Agile.
No, you just think you don't know anything. It's instinctual. Like once you start to read and understand the other methodologies, you'll see that it's kind of commonsensical and a lot of aha moments.
Actually, that's what the knowledge is. More you know, you start feeling you know very little of this whole knowledge, whether it's Agile, whether it's a PgMP, PfMP, anything we learn. Hey, I have done so many classes, mentoring classes, but every time I teach, I get something new. Where this was hiding when I was teaching earlier? No, it's just a progressive elaboration. You have to know something. Then on top of that, you get to know something on that.
Exactly. Yeah, I have gems. I teach project management, intro to project management for a year now. And, you know, at the graduate level, I learned something new from a student every single year. And these are people who've never seen project management before, you know, so yeah, it's like just how they see things and how they're organizing things is really, so always, and that's part of the continuous learning culture, right? So feeling comfortable as a continuous learner.
Yeah. So thank you, Agile lady or Lady Agile and Erica. It was really, really awesome to have you here and to learn from you about the various Agile concepts and why it's working, why not working, and what can we do to make it working. You know, and I will suggest people not to give up just because you had some failures, and see what else you can do. Maybe call Erica; she's an expert in that area, and. Yeah, if you want some basic knowledge, I can talk about. You know, I teach ACP and other things. I can talk, but she's the expert in that area. And yeah, feel free to connect with her via LinkedIn, and of course with me. And you can book my time. 15-minute time, 30-minute time, and ask me any questions around your application and particular certification. I get people booking my time, said, what do you want to talk? Oh, I was feeling bored, so I want to talk to somebody. That's what, really?
Okay.
Because it's free, so look, not really. You have to respect my time, and I have to respect your time and energy. But if you have any questions, clarification, feel free to call me, ask me, LinkedIn me, and we can work it out. Anything I can help you with any certification or anything, career guidance, I will be more than happy to work with you and support you one way or other. But otherwise, it was great working with you, Erica, on this webinar, and great working with you on PgMP. And you're already in my PfMP program, personal program. I'm looking forward to continuous improvement and continuous learning. Now you're learning from me, not other way.
That's right.
And thank you, all of you. You are staying, even though we are out of time, but you're still here, and that shows that you have interest in learning and you continuously learning. So thank you for part of this session, and please book your time, book your registration, register yourself for Ali's webinar, which is not far away, 2 weeks from now. and I'm sure you're going to learn a lot from him. He's coming from the chemical industry, very big experience. He's coming we're talking, I think we're talking finance and few other things in project management and artificial intelligence. So all good. So I like to thank you, and thank you to Erica and my team who made this possible. It is pleasure working on this kind of initiative where the knowledge is being collected and shared, staying there forever. I think as long as YouTube survives, my video will be there. So if you're watching this in 2020 or 2079, then I'm not there. So you still have my blessings. Anyway, so thank you. And this is the end of the session. Thank you again, once again. And thank you, Erica. You take care, and best wishes to all of you. Love you all.
Thanks, Dharam.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.